This is Solo in the Shop. On today's episode, I want to talk about momentum and what it takes to establish some momentum and then to kind of ride that wave and keep going for success. Let's jump right in. Welcome to Solo in the Shop. I'm your host, Ronald Lowe's, and whether you're a weekend warrior crafting for friends and family, or a full-time maker turning your passion into a business, this podcast is for anyone who finds themselves alone in their shop covered in sawdust. Join me as I share my journey from hobbyist to the owner of New England Table Company. Together, let's navigate the joys and challenges of woodworking and entrepreneurship, one project at a time. Welcome, friends. It's been a wonderfully quiet weekend in the shop. We had snowstorms that kind of put a damper on things and bitterly cold temperatures. So there's really no going outside and playing with the tools. Touching metal tools when it's 4 degrees outside, can't recommend it. And I certainly don't want to do my woodworking with gloves. For those of you who have been following along, today is kind of a watershed day. It's the first time that Solo in the Shop is a video first podcast. So it's been all audio up until now, and I finally am trying it out. We're going to see how it goes. I'm going to put the video on YouTube. I'm also going to put it on Spotify. So if you're in any of those places, you can join in, see my face while I'm recording. Got my beautiful painting behind me. Someday I'll tell you the story behind that, but not today. I'm going to jump right in on some thoughts about momentum. And this whole episode came actually from a conversation that I had with my stepdaughter, Bella, about reading and about homework and the idea of, tackling something that you don't want to do by starting small and establishing a little pattern of success and then iterate over that so that you then kind of build this momentum and then you just ride the wave. And it helps you eliminate some distractions and really get going. When you're a solo woodworker, motivation can be an issue. It's not always the most glamorous thing to get out in the shop and sand or put C-channel in, and making a list and breaking it down into smaller and smaller steps so that you can pick things off is a great way to start building that momentum. Because once you're in the shop, you can start rolling and let those distractions go away. And the idea of having small wins where you can say, yep, I did this, this looks great, is really self-fulfilling, right? If you're on a diet plan, for instance, and you've been doing it for a couple weeks and you see somebody who you haven't seen for a while and they say, wow, you look great. Well, that just helps you keep going, right? Now you're like, okay, I've got some positive reinforcement. I'm going to just take off and I'm going to keep going with this. And the same thing happens in the shop, right? You get something, you get a joint that's just right. You get a glue up that looks great. You've sanded something and it's coming out perfect. That's a great thing to just ride, put the headphones on and keep going. So it helps eliminate those distractions and it reduces a lot of the procrastination that can happen when you're struggling or you're easily distracted, you're hungry, there's things on your mind. So a great way is to just start small, right? You want to prime that pump with easy wins. Whether it's organizing your tools, sharpening your chisels, or just prepping the materials, getting ready to start. I've been watching AP Bio with my wife, and Each episode starts with the teacher walking into the class and he's like, all right, start getting ready to shut up or start shutting up now. It's the same idea, right? You're about to start something and you got to get ready to start. And once you're ready to start, then now you've got the first steps to take and you can start checking things off and get that momentum going. Seeing that progress, right, of either getting organized, getting your tools ready, getting a space set up to work, gives you this little psychological boost, if you will, to really focus on what you're doing. And if you have a lot to do, this momentum becomes super, super important. In order to keep it going, you really need to be tracking your progress, whether it's on a whiteboard, on a checklist on your computer or your phone, having a to-do list on a piece of paper, something that gives you a tangible, visible feedback saying, yep, I did this, because that's a great feeling. As soon as you can start checking things off, now it's like, okay, now I've reinforced the success that I'm having, and I want to keep that going, and that's going to get me through a long day. And the bigger the project, the more complex it is, having everything broken down into small steps makes it more palatable, makes it something that you can handle. And it's just a way to see the small successes. It's easy to get bogged down thinking about how big a job is. But if you can break it down, then you can just ride that momentum of little tasks. And before you know it, you've got something amazing. It's important not to overload your to-do list. Make sure it's achievable. I may be guilty of putting too many things on my to-do list just because I've got a lot on my mind. I want to get it out. And I know that if I don't finish things, it's very easy for me to bump those things into the next day. I will say that I use an app called Todoist. I've used others before, but I really like Todoist. It's very intuitive. You just describe what you're doing. And if there's a time element, you can say, deliver this table by 3 p.m. and it will set an alarm for you. It'll remind you that there's a time component to it. But otherwise, I can just say, for example, today I started with go to the hardwood store and buy new spalted maple. Then bring that into the garage and unclamp the glue up from the night before. So I've got these tasks that are not difficult. They're easy wins, but I've got a lot of them. I probably have 10 or 15 of those on my list today. But I know that some of those are actually to-do items that I just need to get done in the next couple days. However you need to manage it, get it so that you have a list. And then have an anchor task. My anchor task actually comes up at 6:30 p.m. every day. And it basically is a must-do task that says review the day and plan for tomorrow. And that task lets me say, okay, did I forget to check anything off on my list as I was like cruising along in the shop? If so, check those off. Did I create more work for myself where I need to create some new tasks for tomorrow? And then once that's all set, then I just say, yep, this is done. I've reviewed my day and I've planned for tomorrow. And that task automatically reschedules itself for the next day. So every day I don't have to remember to schedule that must-do task. I can just say I have to review every day what my to-do list is. Having, a productive workspace is obviously key to minimizing distractions. If you've got a lot of foot traffic or, things going on around you, it's hard to focus. So this kind of goes back. I did an episode a little while ago about creating a good environment for your work, and eliminating distractions is key to being able to focus on the task at hand. Now, you can't get into the shop and rock and roll for 8 hours. You need to take a break. You need some water. You need a snack. You need some food to keep going. Once you get tired and dehydrated, you start making mistakes and things start going wrong. I had a day last week where the second half of the day, just nothing was going right. I kept knocking things over and losing tools and just losing focus. And at the end of the day, I had even, Brody came over and he helped me for a couple hours, and then he left, and I had a couple things that I wanted to get done before I wrapped up the shop day. And man, I walked into the edge of my router sled, and I've got this metal rail that sticks out, and I ripped the crap out of my pants. And that was unfortunate. It was the end of those pants for sure. But it took me a couple days to realize that right behind my pants was, my business, and also my femoral artery. And that could have gone really, really wrong. And that really came down to just being tired and not paying attention to my surroundings. And now I've got a plan to put some padding on the end of those rails so that I can't rip my leg open with that. But that doesn't change the fact that all was a result of me going without taking any breaks. And I was just at a low energy level and should have either stopped to take a break or just stopped and called it a day. So anyway, once that was done, now I can celebrate my progress, and I've had a productive day riding that momentum all the way through. Those same kind of momentum building steps are great for if you're starting an exercise routine, you're starting a diet, or any kind of new skill that you're learning, right? Each of those can be broken down into small, achievable goals to get you started, a little runway to get you into the air, and then you're off and running. Stay consistent is vital to succeeding. You want to have, if it's a personal project or a creative pursuit, staying consistent and building that momentum, starting small, tracking your progress, all the same routine, the same, I'll call it a formula for building momentum, applies to things beyond the shop, right? Everything in your life, whether it's the fitness, whether it's a new book or a book series. I'm recording this on the day that Onyx Storm comes out, which I've been waiting for patiently, maybe not so patiently. And I can't wait to get into that book. If you're reading books, it's important to, build that momentum. Get into it. The book's not going to read itself. You got to open it, read the first page. Hopefully the writer is such that first page just sucks you in. So to recap, start small, track your progress, and then maintain focus to the end. My challenge to you is to identify some small tasks today that will be the key to building momentum in your shop or in your life. And if that works for you, I would love to hear what worked. What did you do? Share your momentum story with me, either on social media or send it to my email, solointheshop@gmail.com. I would love to hear from you. That's what I have for you this week. As always, I really appreciate all of you listening and now watching. And If you got value from it, I would love it if you would leave me a rating, review, and subscribe wherever you're listening or now wherever you're watching. And I look forward to talking to you again in the next episode of Solo in the Shop. Stay safe.